make it clear to them. Anyone who is not paying his tithe is not going to heaven. Full stop.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and welcome back once again to the channel. You guys good, man? It's always an honor to have you to stop by and check out what we have to say on this platform. First things first, if this is your first time tuning in, they call me Mr. J. Yes, I'm a Motherlander living out in the diaspora, and we are proudly Motherland on Mr. J's reaction. And we talk about a whole lot of things coming out of Africa, things that affect our continent. You feel me? I'm the son of a soil. And on this vlog, I want us to talk about Pentecostal movements in Africa and how they are very, very dangerous to the youth of Africa. Before we do that, please do not forget to be part of the family. YouTube keeps telling me that you watch, but you don't subscribe, man. What's happening? Let me know exactly what you want me to react on. You feel me? And I hope you're doing good. Let's not waste a whole lot of time. Let's get into this whole vlog. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following Mr. J, I have been dropping vlogs, man, talking about the whole concept of religion in Africa. And for the past couple of decades, man, there's been this movement that has been creeping into Africa called the Pentecostal evangelism movement, which took over Africans like a bushfire. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when the Europeans came in, there's a saying that they brought the Bible, they put the Bible in front of us, and then they came with their arms. And these Bibles that we're talking about is all Christianity of Catholicism and Protestant movements. Yes, the Catholic Church, the Baptist Church, and some of these Anglican Pentecostal movements. But fast forward, ladies and gentlemen, decades after independence, a new style of religion took over Africa, took a firm grip over Africa, and it is that of believing that miracles are the order of the day. So people, young Africans, started going to church because they wanted to hear testimonies and hear and see miracles being performed. It's like a magic show, theater. And of course, you guys know I'm talking about evangelism. And when you look at the history of Africa, we've seen over the years how some of these evangelic pastors have enriched themselves. Some of these so-called preachers have, self-termed themselves bishop, prophet, this and so on and so on, general overseers and so on and so forth. And for the past couple of decades, they have been crippling the young minds, which is a huge demographic in the continent, man. There is a demographic, a fraction of African youth who just believe that they're not supposed to put in hard work, they're not supposed to hustle because their so-called preacher told them that God's time is the best and that God is going to do it from them. Like magically, some supreme being or some celestial being or something's going to happen and then they will see a breakthrough. Of course, if you know Mr. J, for one, I've never been into this type of nonsense. I've never been pulled into this type of things. I have a whole lot of family members who sleep, dream, and breathe these type of ideologies. But in the back of it, man, I am somebody who can see the BS behind a whole lot of things. And yes, I've been called a whole lot of names growing up of Antichrist, this, so on and so forth. But we are starting to see that there is a new movement coming into the continent, especially from the Nigerian country. And some people have been calling out some of these fake charlatans who use so-called miracles as entertainment to enrich themselves. I don't want to get into the details, but there's this prominent preacher. He goes by the name Dr. Abel Damina, whose teaching has been taking over that continent like a storm. Yes, this man has been facing a whole lot of persecutions, insults on social media. But let me tell you this, 10, 20 years from today, we are going to see a different paradigm shift when it comes to this whole show of miracle, this whole charlatans getting enriching themselves. And recently, a friend reached out to me and told me, but Mr. J, you remember that he's a so-called preacher, he goes by the name of Adeboye, and he's a famous preacher from Nigeria also. It's rather unfortunate that majority of these folks, majority of these crooks and charlatans, they all start from Nigeria. I mean, I think Nigeria is the hub of this whole miracle movement, and this whole Pentecostal movement. Growing up, I started hearing it from Nigeria, and then it spread over the continent like wildfire. So this man, a couple of years ago, he asked his pastors, those working under his church, because he's the general overseer, of course, of his ministry, and he told them in categorically clear, you need to go back and then you need to tell your people that, hey, if you don't pay your taxes, you will not make it to heaven. As if this man was like the gatekeeper of heavens or one, so on and so forth. But even back then, when I heard this, I was like, this man is talking a whole lot of bullshit. Excuse my French. But then I want you to listen to it. Don't just take Mr. J's word from it. Listen to what this man said a couple of years ago, and then let's come back. Listen to him.
I am going to give every one of you, pastors, an opportunity to repent tonight. And then to go back immediately after this convention and restitute your ways with your congregation. Make it clear to them. Anyone who is not paying his tithe is not going to heaven. Full stop.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you guys can see, and this guy outrightly told his pastors, those working under his ministry, like, go tell your folks, people come into your churches, that hey, you must pay tithes. It's kind of like you're not going there for spirituality. You're not going there for God, but you're going there to enrich the church. Of course, this is a business. I've been knowing these things for a whole long time ago, but I am happy that some people are starting to come to the table and starting to realize it. And we will say this, man, ladies and gentlemen, or I will say this. If somebody who tells you this type of a thing, that if you don't pay your tithe, you're not going to heaven, which I am still to see any person who has legitimately been to heaven and come back and told us that this is how it is. Of course, we do have some charlatans who keep selling properties and plots in heaven, and you have these dumb folks buying it. So after this man said that a couple of years ago, and recently he just came out to apologize. Like decades before, after enriching themselves, after making sure that his pastors, their sole purpose of opening their own churches around the world, and especially Nigeria, is to collect tithes and send it to him so that he can live the lavish lifestyle and his family can be wealthy. Fast forward a couple of years later, this man comes out and he's apologizing. Of course, we all know what is happening recently in Nigeria, and we all can talk about the very dark man, the VDM, and the whole Omotofefane situation which this man has been exposing. And then we can talk about Dr. Abel Damina's move of calling out some of these fake charlatans who are in the vineyard of the Lord, preaching and enriching themselves, pretending as if they are all holier than thou, when we all know that they're criminals. And of course, we all know about the choosing situation. Somebody whose congregation are coming out and giving out fake and entertaining. This is just entertainment thing. They give out some sort of testimonials, and then you ask yourself, but if they have all these powers, why wasn't this guy able to save his two wives that passed? And why did they keep going around with police, security guarding them? But then fast forward, this man says he apologizes, that he said what he said a couple of years ago. Let's not talk too much. Watch this, man. The whole situation about tithe. Watch what he's now saying, and then I'll give you my take, and then we close. Watch.
I'm going to be apologizing for making a mistake, for saying that if you don't pay tithe, you might not make it to heaven. I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's not in the Bible. What the Bible says is, ye have peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see God. Now, let me tell you. Listen to me. You know, it is possible to be right and wrong at the same time. I prove it to you. I mean, I'm a scientist, so I know that. For years, we taught that light travels in straight lines. Now, is that correct? At least those of you who know a little bit of physics will say, sure, but light doesn't bend at corners, it goes straight. But later on we discover it's not just not straight as a rod. Light travels in waves, going one direction, but in waves. It is wrong to limit you to 10%. At a time when some of you should be 20%, 30%, 40%, 10% should be for beginners. Giving should be violently.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I just have one question to Mr. Adeboye. When did you realize that you were lying to your congregation? When did you realize that there were people who were literally starving themselves, depriving themselves, and sacrificing their own finances to pay so-called tithes, with the hopes that, of course, their tithe is going to take them to heaven? This is how gullible we Africans have become. And there are a mass and a bunch of people who will come up and try to defend this man once again, because they have been sucked into the system. When did this man realize that all what he has been telling his congregation is a bunch of lies? But of course, the truth is coming out. And I'm saying this, 10, 20 years from today, man, it will be very difficult for some of these charlatans. Man, the clock is ticking. Some of you who have been lying to your congregation, you need to step forward and start owning up to the mess that you said. And for me, I would like to see this man, all the wealth that he has amassed of people's tithe, I want him to start giving this wealth away as charity. Do you think that giving up this wealth as charity and refunding some of these money to these people that he's taking, it's going to be a just cause? Leave your statement, man. Leave your comment. And that is my time from you to you. From me to you, though, you have to be very careful of who you call your preacher or your pastors. Because it has been shown and it is proven that these folks have taken this whole prosperity gospel to a whole different level, which is actually detrimental to the youthful ages in the continent. Stay blessed. I want to hear from you. You feel me? Bless.